Hello and welcome to Connected, the Nova Economics Club podcast, where we try to connect economics with the real world. Today we have the first episode of our alumni edition, and we are going to connect with two former Nec members, Marques Sousa and Mugeiro and Silva. So their paths have multiple touching points, as they took a bachelor's in economics here at Nova during the same years, 2019, 2022. And after graduating, they pursued a master's in economics here at Nova as well. They were also, as I said, former NEC members for quite a long time, having held important roles inside the club. Hugo joined in October 2019 and eventually became the club's president after having been head of different departments, including the podcast department. Daniel is also a former many things at NEC, which include positions of secretary, head of events and social impact departments. Currently, Hugo is a TA of communication and of the communication and leadership course, and Danielle is a TA of macroeconomics as well as a research assistant. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So today we wanted to center the conversation around your academic journey, and so I think it is fitting that we start by your bachelor's time. There's a quote from Keynes, which is that experience shows that what happens is always the thing against which one has not made provisions. So in light of this, what were your initial expectations about your bachelor's and how wrong did it turn out to be?
Do you want to answer first? I can start.
You have the microphone already there.
Yeah, might as well. Well, when I first joined Nova, I was a management student, and only then I departed to the right side of the force, I guess, which is economics, of course. And, well, I thought my brief moment of realization was, well, economics is just better than management in all ways. Because, yeah, I'll learn a lot of stuff regarding models and how to do some research. Back then I already kind of knew I wanted to pursue some research. And, yeah, I would say that my bachelor's path kind of met the criteria that I was already hoping for regarding the courses that I did, the tools that I got, so I wasn't too surprised. There was no unpleasant surprises there. So I would say it was a smooth ride regarding hopes and dreams. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, for me, I joined the economics bachelor's since the beginning. So I was really curious because my ambition was to try to understand how things work, and mainly. And then I understood that the economic science is also very good to try to apply also to other fields that we didn't expect, such as education, for example. But my main focus was always to try to understand how we can shape public policy and how we can shape the policy and the lives of the others to turn them to be better. And in my opinion, it's always through research and through evidence-based policy. And so I think that in that sense, both the bachelor's and also the intersection with the club and what we did here helped me to understand how we can do it. So in that sense, I was able to have tools that allowed me to accomplish this goal of trying really to make the people's lives better. In other sense, I felt that what missed a bit in the bachelor's was more maybe a more theoretical, a context more theoretical on different theories, maybe confrontation between different perspectives, that actually in the master's then we have, for example, an optional course that is the history of the economic thought or economic analysis in this case, and there you can actually understand how different approaches the economists made to our science, and not only teaching one. So I would say that from the bachelor's, what I felt the most was that there wasn't these different visions of the science, but yes.
So both of you touched the tools and the applications of economics. My second question is about like that understanding of the subject and economics in itself. How important was that in the decision to pursue a master's? For example, Hugo mentioned already the topic of education, which was also your master's thesis topic. And Danielle, the master's thesis topic is macroeconomics, right? So were those topics something that you discovered that you liked already in the bachelor's, or only when you started the master's?
Well, I can start now. Well, actually, for example, education, it was always something that I was very curious about, and then I understood, well, there's a field in economics related to that, and so that was from there that I started to understand. And then in the masters we deep on that topic, so we have a course on it, and then the thesis was with the knowledge center. We have a full knowledge center researching on education here, and what I wanted also to touch was actually that when I chose the masters in economics, what I was really looking for was more for a public policy one. So I wanted more to work on public policy, and however, for example, the public policy masters here, I thought for economics students who is not that suitable, because you already know a lot of things about econometrics, for example, and in public policy you will also need to work with econometrics, and you will read a lot of papers that you need to acknowledge to know well econometrics. So that's why I prefer to go to economics, because then I was able to have a much better view. So I would say that the masters in economics is a masters that is more complete in that sense. You go deeper into maths, you go deeper into all of that, and then if you don't need to pursue the standard career in economics, you can then go to the public policy or to other fields, social impact as well. But the tools you learn in the masters in economics, I think they are very deep and they are very important for you to understand also the research that is conducted outside and there.
Yeah. Well, for me, the choice to pursue the masters in economics was a no-brainer, really. So I already knew I was going to choose like in my second year of the bachelor's. And I already knew it was going to be in macroeconomics because, well, I love macroeconomics since I took the first course, so in principles of macro. And so I did basically all the courses in Nova that are related to macro in the bachelor level. And, well, Hugo prefers more education, public policy. I'm more towards structural models and how those models can imply causality and what's the mechanism. So if one variable increases, what happens to the others and through which mechanisms. So that's what immediately called my attention, and macro is well, most of it's structural models, and I really enjoyed it from the very beginning. During my bachelor's and also in the master's in economics, there's not a lot of time spent in structural models because it's a very complex topic, so it's not just econometrics, it's almost PhD level. So I only had the opportunity to really create the model and work with it in my thesis with Professor Pedro Brinca. And yeah, I immediately knew I wanted to pursue the master's because, well, I already kind of knew I wanted to pursue the thesis with Pedro Brinca. So it was a no-brainer really in the area of microeconomics.
So picking up on what Daniel just said, like the whole process of writing a thesis, all the components that that include, so picking an orientator, possible setbacks during the thesis process, like how is that? For Daniel, I believe it was like straightforward, at least the orientator part, the topic as well.
Yeah, I mean...
you were a bit... you were not that sure at the moment of choosing.
No, I knew it was macro, but I was studying... Because I leave everything for the last minute, so I only opened the platform for students to apply to the supervisor in like the last day, but yeah, it was pretty straightforward. So the students in the masters have a platform. You just see what professors are going to be supervised that semester and which topics. But then, as most of things in economics, it depends. So, because some professors are known to be more complicated in being reached out to, so you may have trouble keeping touch with them. For me, again, very simple. I just talked with Pedro Brinca, and yeah, the thesis went smoothly. So the whole process of writing. So I left everything for the last minute. So I wrote my thesis in the last week. So I didn't have an orthodox path, so I leave that to it's a more straight, normal, I would say.
No, yes, I feel that most of the people, and that was my case, it's a very difficult process of thinking what you are going to do research on, because in your case, your advisor already had the topic for you, but in most cases it's you that have to come up with the topic. then it ended up to be a discussion also with my advisors, because I live in the Knowledge Center of Economics of Education, and there you have a team of advisors that you discuss with them some topics. And in the beginning, it was very difficult because in Portugal, unfortunately, we have very few data on education, and the data we have is very centralized, and you cannot go deep into some specificities that you would like to do research on. And so I had a lot of difficulties because I brought the topic, and then which data would you use, and there wasn't data available. So there was always this process of trying to pick up, and this is a learning process, because then you end up learning how to think of the data that you want to the topic that you want to discuss. And then it was and then there was, for example, the possibility of doing a field work, of going to the field, doing the interviews, but then there was another problem. The time,
budget.
The time. The budget as well, but the problem is the timing of that you have to deliver the thesis, because you have only 3 months, so 6 months, but you usually start only in September.
Yeah, you don't do anything in the summer, of course.
No, but actually we have discussed this in during summer, and they already told me that no, it's better to use data that already exists, and that is usually a process that is difficult, because you want to research this, but then you don't have data. That's
one thing that is good about a structural model is that you don't rely on data. So I didn't have those problems. I just, was in my computer trying to work with the model, doing some math and derivations. So no data required.
No, and actually one of the problems of my thesis then was that actually I wasn't able to take many conclusions because of that, because we don't have access to many. Because for example, my thesis was about the difference between the impact that the difference has on students between the teacher grade and the exam grade.
Another thing that I guess also started during your master times was that you became teaching assistants, both of you, here at Nova. So my question is, when did you realize you wanted to do that, and why? Because, as a student, I know that sometimes we are looking at our phones while professors are talking. So what is it that is so amusing, like to speak to a crowd of teens looking at their phones?
Well, first of all, I have seen you looking at your phone during my class. I became a teaching assistant because I always wanted to do that. In my first year of the bachelor's with the TA Pauline, what a legend. He was very cool, and I thought to myself, man, TAs are people too. So I want to be a cool TA as well. So that's when I decided to realize that I want to be a teaching assistant here at Nova. I don't mind people looking at their phones.
No, but I also answer your questions.
Yeah, you do. But then there are the ones who look at their phones and don't. I don't mind people looking at their phones. I don't really care. I only mind when they talk loud, because I don't mind if they talk, but if they talk louder than I can think of, then that's an issue for me. I get triggered. But then again, if you look at your phones, you will not perform well in the exam. So it's on them. Yeah.
Well, of course, I thought
this is the phones, yeah, exactly.
And that's very different, because the course implies that you are engaged in the activities that we are conducting. It's much more practical. So there is no possibility of you being at phones, but there are some people that are as well. And actually, but as a student, I also was at the phone many times. But that's also an issue that schools and the education policy is also trying to address, and is starting to think if, for example, this is more for the lower levels of education, but if the kids should go with their phones to the class, because it really disrupts the educational process, and there are some countries that already ban the phones. But addressing the question why TA, actually, I always wanted to be a teacher, and I was since I was a child, I remember to be in the first grade, and I said I want to be teacher of first grade. Then I went to the secondary school. I want to be teacher of secondary school, and then I ended up in the university. I want to be teacher of university, and then I ended up doing that. And it was it is a very good experience. To know that you can have some impact on the lives of the people that are here, and that you, at least you can leave some impact on their path here at Nova, and that they bring. We hope that we give you and give all the students some useful things for their future.
I just wanted to end that. Yeah, it is definitely like the most rewarding experience that I've ever had in my life. I don't see anything coming close to it, because honestly, whenever like I'm having a bad day and I have class to teach that day, my day gets brightened up. It's the best part of the week, to be honest. So I really love like being out there teaching, people participating and showing that they are interested in. So when you answer the questions that I ask, that's like the best feeling ever. And if you guys just schedule office hours, like I put a lot of effort in it. I don't mind, because in contractual terms we only have to give 1 office hour, 1 hour of office hour per week, and I give so much more than that, and it's definitely my pleasure. So it's like the best experience ever. I highly recommend being a TA if you can, if you are accepted. Yeah.
And if you are interested as well.
Yeah.
So I would also say that being a TA is more or less like the start of your professional career. So I wanted to develop the question to move it to other topic, which is a feeling that I have here at Nova is that it tends to push students a little bit into the corporate world, which is, so this is much more like a business school than an economic school, something that I feel. And often that is not the environment that economic students are most attracted to. So you both of you mentioned public policy, research, those things. So do you agree with this claim, and like what attracts you? Like if it's not the corporate world, what do you want to do in the future?
Okay. That is a difficult question, and I should start by saying that at our age, we don't need to know what we want to do. And that is, but I say this because it seems to be clear, but it is not. And when I had to choose also the masters and everything, I was with a huge pressure on myself I have to know what I want to do. But actually you don't. And that's something that I've learned in the last years, is that you should give you space to try new things and to try different things. And so I am on that path at the moment of trying to experience different fields and different ways, and that's why I felt that it was very good also to teach a course that is not very related with economics. It was the communication and leadership, because it allowed me to broaden my views on the world, because then I understood that there's more things than economics, for example. And so, but yes, what I'm aiming at this moment to do is more. I discovered, for example, for looking for communication and leadership, that this has a huge link also with economics, and that link is public policy, because you should and you have to do research, but then if you don't know how to explain your research and how that research can actually can lead to changes in the world and in the policy implementation, and then everything that happens after that, your research will be.
You need to be able to convince people that what you're doing is.
And you have to know what are the ways to do that, and that's why I've been focusing now more at my career to public policy, specifically on education, because it was a topic that I felt it was good. So, answering to your question of how important was this experience, I think for me it made my views broader of the career possibilities in a sense, and then of course teaching is going to be a possibility in the future, because I really loved the experience and I really wanted to. But yes, don't, and this is an advice for the people that are listening to us, don't feel too pressured on knowing exactly what is the path that you are going to follow, because sometimes life brings some surprises that we are not expecting.
That's a very sweet comment. I'm not going to be as sweet as that. Yeah.
Because you already know everything.
Yeah, because no, but No, I definitely agree with that. I'm also experimenting new stuff, and so I definitely agree with that. You don't have to know what you're following next. Right now, I'm being a teaching assistant, which is useful to pursue a more academic path. Although in academia and research, teaching is the very last part that it's important. So there are professors who are terrible teaching, but they are in their faculties and in their colleges because they are very good researchers. So colleges care for research more. And I've talked with many researchers.
That's not necessarily good.
No, it's not necessarily good. I'm just saying.
But you have teachers that are only focused on teaching.
Yeah, you have the teaching track, right? But like
you can do a PhD just for teach, for example.
yeah, definitely. But many that pursue research, which is a big part, and what colleges are known for in competitive terms in research is the researcher's track. And those research, I've talked with many of them, and they always say, teaching is like, who cares? And I feel bad because I like to believe that teaching would be a thing that I'm good at it, but if they don't value that much, and if I end up not being that good of a researcher, then, well, I can't be a researcher. And I would have to follow a teaching track. But right now, besides being a teaching assistant and a research assistant, I'm also being a economic consultant. So I like to say that I'm the economist, most manager-like here at Nova. So although I took everything economics, I'm very much close to management and consultancy. And regarding your question, does our college Nova push a lot of people to the corporate world? Yeah, it does. We've always had that issue in Nec. So we've always got pissed off at Nova because there were not many institutions for public policy or more research.
I don't want it to be that polemic.
Yeah, but it's an issue that many economic students say, not just Nec
I asked
students.
this from a personal feelings.
Yeah, exactly. But I get why. There's obviously some incentives because, there's a lot more corporate firms and business firms than economics institutions. So there's a lot more possibilities. There's a lot more sectors. Managers and economists that leave Nova can just go to any sector. Whereas in research and academia and institutions, it's much more specific. So if you end up focusing a lot on that, you may not get like the criteria and be as competitive in international terms, which of course colleges want to do that. They want to flex their numbers. They want to say that they have X% employability and the first wage is Y% and how many go outside. And so there's that incentive because if you only publicize corporate or mostly publicize corporate firms, then you get a hedge for that. So I get it. And I also want to give a note that even if you are in economics and you want to pursue academia or public policy, again, don't immediately disregard the corporate world because again, you might not know yet what is academia. I'm only now learning. So if you think that you know by your second or third grade year, then you may not actually know. So don't totally disregard the corporate world. It may be useful because the money is useful. Yeah, that's basically it.
But I think that what we are missing the most here at Nova is this component. It was what I talked before. It is to bring the discussions of the topics that we cover more to the table, to events. And I think this has been changing, and Nova Economics Club and Nova Debate Club play a very good role on bringing the topics and the hot topics and
outside of the classrooms, right?
Exactly, and applying, for example, Economia Viva is a very good event for that, because then you are applying the concepts that you are learning on that, and that is economics, because you are studying the way our society works as well, and so all the debates and all the discussions are welcomed for that. And I feel that we also need, and I think NEC has been playing that role in a very good way in the last years, that is to try to connect to the public institutions that matter to the economic students, such as Banco de Portugal and the Ministry of Finance. So we go to those places that usually the university doesn't make that connection, and I think NEC has been very important for that, for sure.
So before we wrap up, I just want to go precisely about your time at NEC. And to do the first question is, what do you regret the most, and what are you most proud of doing during your time in the club?
Well, very short answer. What I regret the most is not doing a lot when I was secretary. It was the very first time this charge was made, so nowadays we call it Tash, of course. Because of me. So I regret not doing a lot in that term. What I'm most proud of is definitely being head of events. So the events department is my little baby. I cared for it. I made a lot of events, record numbers. We were the first club that had the partnership with the BYC and NYC points. That nowadays that no longer is like that. That it no longer works like that. But we were the first club because I made that partnership happen, and yeah, I was very happy when I was head of events. It was the best times I spent at NEC, definitely.
Well, I think I'll try. This could be a very broad answer, but I'll try to just give very specific examples. And I don't know if it is the things that I'm the most proud of, but some things that I'm proud of. So. A thing that I'm very proud of was to leave the NEC day at the club, because I told this when we started when it was the first NEC day that I was in the shower literally, and I reminded that this would be a good idea. Why wouldn't we go outside Nova and ask for Banco de Portugal to give us the space of to give us to allow us to go there to their farm, that they have a huge farm where we can have a day outside here. And so I think that what I'm most proud of living at NEC was the culture of team building that there wasn't when I joined the club, and I think I like to believe that I had an important role on that component. The thing I regret the most, I don't know if it was the most, but because there are a lot of things that we learned during this process. But I would say that where the semester I was not that active was the one that I was head of content, and it was also because I was first head of the podcast only, and then they merged the two departments, and I was coming back from Erasmus when they asked me to be the head of that department. And then I think that semester we were not as much productive as I would like to. So I would say that was the one of the things that I regret, was not to try to push more for the department at that time.
And so, in a short note, what would you say to students that might be hesitant to join the club?
Apply.
Very short indeed.
No, but it depends on the person that is bothered.
It depends is also a very short.
Of course it does.
But I would say that if you want to join a team that really wants to think about the problems of the world and of the country, and if you want to have an active role on thinking about those problems, if you want to gather evidence with policy making, put everyone together talking about those problems, that is the right place for you.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that, because I totally agree with that. Regardless if you are a management or economics student, right? So usually most of the students are obviously economics, but we also have, or you, because I'm no longer there, management students. We always had, and there are people who switch from management to economics, or even economics to management. So don't think the Nova Economics Club is just for economics students. It's just for people who are interested in the society and want to debate about it. And if you end up enjoying more economics, then yeah, switch. It's the best course.
Okay, so we have this final section, which is a section of quick fire questions. So basically this or that, and no need to explain, just answer. So it's supposed to be lighthearted. So macroeconomics or microeconomics?
Macroeconomics.
Well, it's short answer, right?
Just macro or micro?
It's just macro or micro?
One or the other.
Micro, okay.
Sure. Keynes or Hayek?
Keynes.
Calculus or algebra?
Calculus.
Calculus, it's more important.
Financial Times or The Economist?
The Economist.
The Economist.
Being a teacher or being a student?
Being a teacher. I mean, we are always students.
Yeah, we are always being a teacher. Being a teacher.
New Lisbon Airport or high-speed train Port Lisbon? Which
New
one?
Lisbon Airport.
No, the train line is very important.
Economic models or supermodels?
Supermodels.
Depends on the day. No, it's economic models.
Supermodels.
So yeah, I guess that's a wrap up. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for listening.
Thank
Yeah,
you very
Thank
much
you.
for inviting us.
stay connected.